Hi, this is David Orlofsky, and welcome to the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.
It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go.
And whether you're listening on Torah Anytime or wherever you listen or watch your podcast, we're so excited to have you along. This week we are sponsored by a good friend of our family, Nami Resnick, who is sponsoring it in honor of her grandfather's yahrzeit, Baruch Shimon ben Tzipora Liba, and she writes, he would have liked your brutal honesty. Well, that is, of course, the theme that we have been dealing with these past number of shows, and that is the American Seminary experience. And we've spoken 4 different aspects of it thus far. And I felt like, listen, I have taught in seminaries, and I obviously have a lot of opinions on everything, even what I haven't done. I'm more than happy to offer my opinions. Sometimes people ask me, they say, what topics can you speak about? I said, anything you want. I have no problem. I'll talk about anything you want. So, but I figured maybe we should have somebody who actually knows something. So I looked around with my knowledge and experience. Remember that I made Aliyah in 1988 and gave me an opportunity to see a little bit about the seminary experience. And there is one person who has been a legend in the field for many, many years. And that is, of course, Rabbi Geisler, who is with me today on the show. Rabbi Geisler, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
And we'll just get a little background. You came to Eretz Yisrael before the 6-Day War, and you've been there ever since.
No.
In
1971, 72, I was learning. Came to Eretz Yisrael, I was learning, and I got sick. And we returned to the States until I got better, which turned out to be 12 years.
Oy.
No, I was better before 12
I understand.
years. But then we moved to Eretz Yisrael, and until a few years ago when I retired again because of a health issue, I was involved in seminaries in Bnos Chava, Maalot first, and then ultimately Bnos Chava as well, right after that. And actually Machon Devora first, before that.
Right. So Machon Devora was
part of Neve at that point.
Yeah, and then they broke off on their own.
Yeah.
Eventually they closed up. And then Bnos Chava basically filled that space in Neve. Neve used to have a whole series of Beis Yaakovs. Or actually they had a whole series of all kinds of schools.
That's right.
They were basically full service. They could take you from a beginner, who's just walking in the door with piercings, all the way to the finest Beis Yaakovs. So Bnos Chava filled that gap there. And so, what year did you take that over?
It's not, let's say it's 32 years now. From then to retirement was.
That makes sense.
Years.
That's when I came. Now, when I came, everybody knew that Bnos Chava was the gold standard in the Beis Yaakov world, and. I gave a lot of thought because I wanted to find somebody who had your level of experience and at the same time doesn't still have, a horse in the race. So now that you're retired, I figure you can talk safely about anybody you want. It's just me and you and 10, 15,000 other people listening in. So, so when you envision this, how did you envision what a seminary for an American girl coming to Eretz Yisrael should be? A few things. Well, actually, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that I envision, what a seminary should be. I really envisioned what a girl would want from the seminary. Uh-huh.
That's how I would think. And not only what she would want, but what would be the most valuable thing for her to get from a seminary.
Right.
That was the basis of my forming. Bnos Chava, I never had complete jurisdiction over Bnos Chava. I had a co-principal, Rabbi Dovid Baruch Hashem, all the time. And in Maalot, I had Mrs. Geisler. I always had very, very good partners. That was part of my thinking and strategy of running something.
So what was the vision? Right? You say a girl's coming to Eretz Yisrael, what should her experience be?
Okay, so it should be an experience that she gains some level of independence from her family, some level, which changed as, for example, cell phones, technology changed in terms of the frequency that they were in communication. Right. But it impacted. But there is still the idea that she could gain some sort of independent identity, find out a little bit about who she is, who she wants to be, and what she wants to strive for. That was one of the things. The second thing is that they would gain in the depth of Torah knowledge, hopefully in the breadth of Torah knowledge as well, but more important to me was the depth of Torah knowledge. In other words, to learn through, even though there's no chiyuv of Talmud Torah for the young lady, but to learn to think like a Jew is very important for everybody's mother. And this is a person who's going to be some Jewish kid's mother.
Right.
And to think Jewish and to understand Jewish and love Jewish as a Yid, this was very, very crucial. And the way that could be accomplished was to expose them to some ideas that actually were not the common thinking of a Western young lady. And the girls came to us, they were English speaking, so they came from South Africa, from England, from the States, from Canada, pretty much. Of course, some girls came from Mexico, but that's pretty much they came from across the
Now,
globe.
most of these girls were going to go on to university?
Many of them were going to go into
Right.
I would say most, yes.
So there's certainly, and this one somebody actually wrote me in and said, listen, a girl who's going to go to university and is going to see secular knowledge on a deep level has to see Torah on a deep level.
That's correct.
If you were dealing with girls who were not going to go on to university, would you say that that was still important?
Yes, I still would say it's important. I'll tell it to you this way. I have a cousin in America, a well-known family. They are the only, they stem from a Satmar branch of family. They're not Satmars, but, and he told me that I am not going to send my daughter to seminary. My mother didn't go to seminary, and my grandmother didn't go to seminary.
Right.
I asked him, is your daughter going to go to college? He said, I think you have to. So I said, well, your mother didn't do that, and your grandmother didn't do that. You better send your daughter to seminary. That's what I told him.
So you wanted to give them Torah on a higher level and give them independence. What else? Did you have other goals that you...
Yeah, the most important goal, I would think, is the way they relate to the other people. Kindness, goodness, and the character traits that could be developed while they have this year where they're away from their family and they don't have the safety and the familiarity of their family, and they're dealing with different people who come from different backgrounds. How they deal with that may have more to do to make an adult woman successful as a Jewish mother and wife than all the learning. And that's a crucial thing.
And a good high school in America couldn't do that.
They could. They surely could. And
I'm saying all these goals. Does the girl have to come to seminary in order to accomplish this?
No, she does not have to come to seminary to accomplish this. No, she doesn't have to. But it's a big help.
Right.
It's a big help.
So this is 32 years ago when you start.
Right.
And you left working there how long ago?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. So what changed in those 30 years? In other words, when you saw a girl coming in your last year, and you compare her to a girl who was coming 30 years before,
Right.
What's the contrast?
There are a large number of contrasts. First of all, I changed. That's very important to understand. So I have different eyes.
Right.
Years later. But the girls, they changed. As I said, they're much more in touch with each other, much more involved with electronics and all of those things. The bifurcation, the separation of different classification of girls was far more marked. In other words, they were pre-packaged as certain candidates and in certain ways that weren't so obvious before. It wasn't like that. There was much more gray area for people to decide what they wanted to do. And there was great pressure on parents. As it continued, there was a greater pressure on parents to send their kids many times against their will.
Whereas, let's say 32 years ago, what percentage of high school graduates from a Beis Yaakov went to Eretz Yisrael?
That would depend. If it was a non-New York place,
Right.
it was a far higher percentage, almost 90%. I would
Wow,
say.
really?
In the out-of-town place, what they call out-of-town. I recall
Queens.
a story. I recall a story of the Beis Yaakov convention that took place in Montreal.
Right.
And I think it was Rabbi Eisenstock then got up and said, all the in-town girls should stay here, and all the New York girls sat and stayed. They are in-town girls. That's what they are. So
Wow.
that's what happened. So the identity of
So a Beis Yaakov then was much more, a seminary was much more made up of out-of-towners than New Yorkers.
no, there's such a large proportion of New York students.
Right.
It so outweighs it. It's 80% probably.
Really?
I
So
think
even though 90% of the out-of-town Beis Yaakovs,
That's right.
they made up 20% of the seminary
Right.
population.
Right.
Wow.
Something like that, 20 to 30%. We always favored those girls, and the reason was not because we favored those girls qualitatively or any other reason. For the sake of the New York girls, it was very important for them to meet and interface with these girls. They thought it was for the other girls to meet
Right,
them,
right, right.
but we thought the other way. At least I did.
32 years ago. So there's Bnos Chava, there's BJJ.
You heard of that one, yeah.
That one I heard of.
No, because you said we're the imprimatur. I think BJJ was the
There's
standard
something
of the
else.
top.
I think there's
David
something
is
else.
the top.
That's something else. Anyway, it's a different schnit, I think. But
We had many girls who were, when we started,
Right.
who were in choosing between those two seminaries.
right, well, that's what I'm saying. How many other Beis Yaakov choices were there?
There was Michlala. That wasn't the Beis Yaakov choice, but it wasn't a non-Beis Yaakov
right.
choice
Right.
yet.
There were always a Beis Yaakov population that went
Yeah,
there.
that's right. And there were a few other seminaries still around.
So there weren't much for a girl to choose. Today there are 25 Beis
Okay,
Yaakov
but the
seminaries.
amount of population is much stronger.
Is it that the population is that much larger, or the percentage who feel they have to come to Eretz Yisrael is larger?
No, I think it's the population.
Just keeps growing.
Yeah.
So
Baruch
then
Hashem.
there's always need for more schools simply because the market keeps growing.
Here's the pitfall of that, both in the States that I've seen and here. People could think they're doing great as educators because people are clamoring to come in. That's because of the numbers, not because they're doing anything great necessarily.
Right.
It's not a qualitative issue. So someone could think he's doing great in his school, in the neighborhood school, because everyone wants to get in there. But the reason is because there's not enough space. So it's not a quality. It doesn't prove you've done anything yet.
So now thousands of American seminary girls come into Yerushalayim every year. Can they still get the Yerushalayim experience that you could give them 32 years ago?
No. I don't think you get the same experience. I don't think the Yerushalayim experience is an experience you get by coming together with your friends and flocking together. You get exposed to some things that you never saw before, and you see them, but you see them through a group vision eyes of people.
Right.
And of course, if you'd ask a young lady, would you come to Eretz Yisrael if you were the only girl in the United States coming to Eretz Yisrael? The answer is going to be no if she's healthy. She's going to say no. But, so when she's coming to Eretz Yisrael, she's not coming to Eretz Yisrael as Robinson Crusoe. You know what I mean? She's not coming to discover Eretz Yisrael. She's coming with the safety of her net of a group, hopefully wonderful young ladies, with many of the same objectives, and the same Yetzirah, the same things that kids want to do. They have those things, and it's a camp. It can be perceived as a dormitory camp experience as soon as they get there.
Right.
So there has to be some way of letting them know that it's not a camp experience, which is academics.
Right.
And the pressure of academics is crucial for them not to feel that they're in a camp experience.
Now, here's what's interesting. Let's say a girl's not planning on going to college, and she fails all of her tests. What happens?
I think she can function very well. I used to tell...
So that's the problem with the academics, is that if you don't,
Yeah, but it's not only because of getting into college, although that was a big part of it. I think if academics are taught correctly, you develop an appetite for knowledge. That's one of the jobs of the educator. Not just to hold a carrot or a stick, but to actually develop a curiosity, in order to do that, you have to allow people to ask questions, not be intimidated by their questions, and be openly answer questions. One of the shittas I had as a teacher was like this. If you say, I don't know, so we applaud. Whenever you say, I don't know, we applaud.
Right.
I explained to them, I'm the teacher. This is music to my ears. When you don't know, I have a chance to teach you something.
Right.
Okay. When the teacher says, I don't know, he gets standing ovation. That's how I handle it.
Now, the girls have to write these reports. Whatever happens to these reports?
They are read.
And then?
And then they're filed. They're actually filed. Yeah.
So
we have these reports, or we give them back.
Yeah. And anybody ever do anything with them? Or
it mattered to them. They learned a lot from those reports.
That was just the key to be able to do the research.
Yeah.
You could just say, I want you to read up on this topic.
But it's more. It gave them a sense of, it depends how they did it. They had a brother or a father who was smart enough to help them. So they messed up a little bit with that. And it was obvious, you could tell. But when they did it themselves, they actually got an excitement of discovery and learning that happened. It doesn't matter the quality, just the fact that they could ask this question and see 3 different answers and discuss how those answers impacted on this theme that they wanted. This is a way to learn. That's all it was. Right. And there was people who put work into this, got very, very good results from that.
Okay. Here's a girl now in high school. And there are over 20 Beis Yaakov choices for her to make. And that's how this started, because the girl says, how do I choose?
Yeah.
So how does a girl choose where to go? Based on what? In other words, what questions is she supposed to be asking? Because I was once at an Israel night. I was representing a school, boys' school. And everybody got up and said the same thing. We're warm, we're this, we're intellectual, we're that. Everybody said that, except for Neve Yerushalayim, except for Neve Tzion. Everybody said the same exact thing. This is what we are, this is what we are. You know? I remember when my time got up, I said, I remember when I was dating, nobody ever said I have a perfect girl for you. She's boring, she's unattractive, she's not too from. They never said that. I went out with girls like that, but they never told me that beforehand. They always say, she's wonderful, she's smart, she's attractive, Right. So I said, every school is going to tell you the same thing, but it's not always true. Right. So how does a girl go and look at these brochures, which all are the same thing, a girl sitting at a desk, you know what I mean?
So I would tell you that my experience doesn't have this. Because we never recruited.
Right.
I never did it. I never tried to get a girl to come to us.
So how many schools today can actually do that?
I think all schools can do that.
Without recruiting. Just wait and see who knocks on their door.
No, they say, are you going to recruit? No, I'm going to interview.
Right.
So it was a selective process. But I wasn't going to call, I'll tell you, my son here was about to be a candidate to go to what's called here to Yeshiva Ketana.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's more or less high school.
High school age, right? High school age. So a friend of mine who's a Rosh Yeshiva asked if he can come and talk to my son in my house, and he came to my house to talk to my son. And when he finished talking to my son, he said to me, "So what do you think?" And I said, "Look, he'll choose what he wants to choose. That's my philosophy. But if he asks me, I will definitely tell him not to go to your yeshiva." So he said, "Why would you do that?" I said, "I don't want my son to be learning by a Rosh Yeshiva who came to woo him in my house. I don't want that." So I don't believe in that.
Right. The problem is that, if you, I know Rosh Yeshiva, big Talmidei Chachamim, that's what they do. They run around after 8th grade boys and beg them to please come to the yeshiva.
I don't think this is a good thing for Kavod HaTorah, for the sense of the teaching, or for the boy. It's not a good thing. Not a good thing. And it's probably not the best sales tactic.
Right.
As a sales tactic also, even if you're an effective salesman, you're much better with a negative sale than with a positive sale. Representative David can prove that.
Yeah. No, but that's not really fair, because she was there before everybody came, and she established a certain standard, and
I admire.
Right. But I'm saying, so everybody else comes, and at the beginning they used to compare themselves to BJJ. You know what I mean? So but BJJ was BJJ. Didn't have to say anything. So, but 25 people come to interview, not to recruit. They come to your school. They're going to tell you about why their school is such a wonderful school. And now a girl has heard 25 different people.
Right.
How does she decide where to go?
It depends what she wants. She has to know for herself. Hopefully, usually in schools, there's somebody assigned to direct them.
Right. But those people have biases.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know enough about them to say that I like them.
They're people. So
everybody has
by definition,
biases.
they're biased.
We're all biased. We're all biased.
Yeah.
But that's not the issue. The issue is you want to help a girl make a decision. You have to ask her what she wants to get out of this. Now, usually she's not going to say the truth.
Right.
That's the problem. She's not going to say. She's going to say something canned, as the interview. So it's a good shidduch. The interviewer says something canned, and she says something canned. It's like those dates.
It's not. I don't think this happens so much in the Beis Yaakov seminaries, but in the other seminaries, there's a standard line they all use because I'm looking for a place where I can grow. They all say the same thing. So somebody who had a seminary, so after like the 12th girl said that, he goes, "Why? What's wrong with you now?" She's like, "Nothing." Then what do you want to grow? I don't know. Why are you asking me these
You're confused already.
I just know. This is what I'm supposed to say. But I don't think in a Beis Yaakov that's what they're saying. They walk in and say, "I'm looking to grow during this year."
Sure they do.
Yeah, that's the line.
They say, look, grow is a cleansed way of saying I want to change. You don't want to say I want to change.
Right.
So grow is, I've been growing for years now, and it's obvious.
But when a person comes in, there are certain Beis Yaakovs where they say, we're here to give the girls, a year in Eretz Yisrael and a year of learning. We're not looking to change their lives.
Right.
Right. So then when a girl says, I'm coming to grow, that's not going to, that doesn't fit the bill of what the Beis Yaakov. So here's how it started. It started with a girl wrote a question and said, okay, I want to learn, when I get married, I want to marry a guy who's going to learn in Kollel for a few years, but not like forever. And right now I don't have a smartphone, but I might later on in life want to have a smartphone. And I don't want to go to a seminary where they're going to make me feel bad for those choices.
For which part of the choices are you going to feel bad about?
To tell me that if I don't marry somebody who's learning forever, then I'm doing the wrong thing. And if they tell me you're not allowed to have a smartphone ever, or things like this, then I'm going to feel like I'm a bad person, even though I'm doing more or less what my family does and my family's standards. And,
right.
I've had girls who said to me, I don't need a Rebbe. I have my father, and he asks his Rebbe. And when I get married, my husband asks his Rebbe. And I don't need anybody who would direct me, so I don't need to go to seminary to get hadracha and get, So is that the right approach?
Well, look.
So should she find a seminary that says what she wants to hear?
There's a certain bravery and heroism to say, listen, I've been supported by my parents till now. I'll marry a husband who's going to support me, and I'll continue with my life.
Right.
In other words, I'm willing to be supported for the rest of my life. There's something that's
I'm ready to be supportive for the rest of my life.
Okay. I'm trying to help you out. But my point is that there is no sense of independent yearning for anything in that position. It's a legitimate position, but it's a position that says, I'm willing to have my parents and my in-laws support the Kollel for 2 years, and then when I have to, I want my husband to go to work to support me.
Right.
So this is legitimate. That's the history of humankind. It's been going on for thousands of years.
Right.
Okay, but it's not a very committed position to anything. And you would want that you would hope that the young lady would want to take a position about Judaism that is based on some commitment to Judaism. What exactly is that? I remember Rabbi Orlofsky shocking the girls by saying to them, look, I don't want you to do kiruv with the girls in the Vey, because we interface.
Right.
I don't want you to do that. I don't think those girls came here and they chose a level of religious identity that's uncomfortable for them from where they come from. You have chosen exactly what makes you comfortable. That doesn't
don't
give
mess
you
up
right.
my Bali Tshuva.
Right, don't mess up the Bali Tshuva.
So, of the thousands of girls who are coming to learn in seminary every year, should all of them be coming?
What everybody should do is your
your opinion, based on your 30 years of looking of the seminary girls who are coming?
There's nothing
Are the
that
girls that you would
everybody-
say
there's
stay at
nothing
home?
that everybody should do. There's no such a thing. Some people have to escape their families. Some people need to be with their families. Some people need to be away from their family and attach their family and come back and reappreciate their family in a different way. There's so many different human beings in different positions, which we never know at the outset. We
Right.
don't know.
So if a girl says to you, look, I'm not looking to grow. I'm looking to come back at the end of the year the same way that I left.
Yeah.
Would you tell her to come to seminary?
I tend to think again about life. Anybody who wants to come back after a year's experience of something and not be changed has a difficulty with the experience and with life. It just doesn't work like that. Whether you like it or not, it impacts on you.
Right.
So I remember at the airport, another Rabbi Refson telling me that he was witnessed this. The parents said, "Promise us one thing. Promise us you won't change." Now, this is an amazing directive to a person you're sending overseas to learn something.
Right.
How could it be? I mean, it is the Torah we're talking about besides, but even without Chas Shalom, without the Torah, how could it be that this person spends a year in nuclear physics and doesn't change their attitudes about certain things?
Right.
It's cava with the Torah.
Right.
So it's impossible. They're asking an impossible thing.
So
that's an impossible demand
So
on the
if she
girl.
says up front, I don't want to change, then probably the year in Israel is not worthwhile.
No, I think it's more important for her to get the idea that she should change.
Uh-huh.
So I think it could help her very much. I think she's trapped
Right.
if she sees that she doesn't want to change. It sounds like it's not her message.
All right. So one thing is she wants to change. Now, what if a girl's not academic?
So she has to pick a school that has a different kind of emphasis than only academics.
Is the year in Israel still worthwhile for a non-academic girl?
Could be. For two reasons. If the non-academic program, do you mean that she's lacking in what we call IQ? Is that what you mean?
Well, we can't say that today. We would say that they are intellectually challenged.
Okay.
Well, let's put it two ways. There are some people who lack the ability and some people who lack the drive. And I've had girls who said, I don't want to work so hard. I want to go and enjoy my year in Israel. Like you said, camp, you know.
Right.
Is it worthwhile for those girls to come to seminary?
It depends which seminary they wind up in. If they wind up in a more academic seminary, it's going to be very valuable for them.
Right. But the more academic seminary, if you have a girl who is a C student and makes it clear that she's not particularly motivated.
I'm not up to that
Probably
challenge.
they're not going to take them.
For it. I'm not going for it. But the reason is because she's taking up space of somebody else who can gain much more from the program that we had each time. But there were many, many young ladies who were not specifically academically geared, excuse me, but they had a certain intellect, a certain understanding, and they could express this without any, since they weren't headed to any academic career or anything, they could learn without pressure. And they could, and if you can create an atmosphere where the girls themselves, the students, are interested in learning, so she picks up on some of that because she's social. Usually she's social. And if the social thing is to be around the learning, she does that. And if you could help her by encouraging a gifted student to be with her and get certain things from her that they don't have, and vice versa, you've done a big thing to pick up both people's lives, two people's lives. You improved both of their lives.
Rabbi Shapiro used to give a public share on Thursday nights.
Yes.
And a lot of people came. And at one point someone said, you never give the Maya Makomos. And he said, why? He says, people want to look it up afterwards. He goes, really? I assume people just came to the shir so they could say in Shidduchim, I go to Rabbi Moshe's shir. So somebody wrote to me and said...
That was a self-deprecating comment. It wasn't real.
So somebody wrote to me and said, I don't know what you're hocking everybody for. People go to seminary because it's good for Shidduchim.
On the resume.
Yeah. So if a girl says, listen, I don't really care about the whole year in Israel. I just need this on my resume. Yeah. So I'm coming for my year in seminary.
Right.
What do you tell that girl?
I'm not taking you.
So don't say that
to me.
in the interview.
Yeah.
And so that's not a good enough motivation.
No, it's also not true. You can get married. Statistics prove you can get married equally well if you stay home. There's no problem about that.
Somebody told me Shmuel just said this at the Aguda convention. He said you can get married without going to seminary.
Yeah.
So that's not a good enough reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good enough that she's motivated to get married now. This is a good thing.
Right. The girl in high school who is just a regular girl, she doesn't have a blank slate. And she says, I know everybody goes to Israel to go to seminary, so I also want to go to Israel to go to seminary. So how does she make that decision? 25 places to choose from.
I think the teacher who's involved with guiding girls to go to seminary, sit down with her and ask her, what could you possibly gain from the year? Forget why you want to go.
Right.
What can you see yourself gaining from the year that you'd be happy coming back with? Okay? Once you isolate those things.
That's a hard question for a girl
who's not a big thinker.
Who's not a big thinker to answer. Like, well, everyone's going to Israel, so I don't want to miss out.
That this is after 4 years of high school,
yeah.
And the teachers there also should be doing something. So this is a legitimate question to ask somebody.
Right. Well, that's why I'm thinking that if a high school really provides everything, unless it's the exceptional girl, I don't know why everyone has to go to seminary in Israel.
No, I don't think everyone has to go to seminary in Israel. I think there were seminaries in America.
Right.
It's good. It's probably better to go to a seminary where you're out of your habitat. It just helps you develop. So if you're going to Montreal, or it used to be in Yavne, those places, they're excellent places. I don't think there's a problem with that at all. I have no issue with that. I think that's a very valuable thing. And then there could be people who dafka have a special home, and they have special kids, and they want kids staying home because they have a special chinuch to give their children. Or there are extenuating circumstances at home where the girls need it at home. If it's in a healthy way, it's wonderful. If it's in an unhealthy way, it's the most important girl to get out of the house. Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason, you've mentioned a few times that you believe that BJJ is the gold standard.
I think that's because of young
Rebbetzin David?
Rebbetzin David is extraordinary. Is an extraordinary person. I happen to know her, and I find her to be.
Are there people like that in the seminary world?
Yes.
Besides her?
Not of her level. No,
right.
No. My Rebbe, Orlofsky, said that she probably was a few duros back. Wow. The biggest melumedes that there's in the history of Klal for a long time.
So, do you have a go-to place when a girl wants to come to Israel? If you say, okay, BJJ, you're not for BJJ, then the next best place for you to go is?
No, I have no idea. I never was asked that question.
Oh, well, I'm glad I came up with something new.
No, I would never suggest that. I don't know, unless I know my family, my nieces, or things, they might ask me, and we just talked about, I put them in touch with people.
So you know all the Beis Yaakov seminars that are going on? You
not now anymore, probably.
Anymore. Yeah.
I am, Baruch Hashem, not involved with that.
I want to thank Rabbi Geisler for coming and sharing decades of experience in the seminary world. I hope this has been helpful, Esty, and all of the others who have been watching. I noticed that more people have been watching the particular series of talks on seminaries than almost any other topic that we've dealt with thus far. And that's it. And now I have to make an important announcement, and that is that we have had requests for some live streaming shiurim. What does that mean? That means that I give a daf yomi here in Eretz Yisrael, and people would have to, get up very early in the morning or stay up in the middle of the night in order to be able to participate. So we are going to start a live daf yomi where you can be part of the shiur. And people would ask me, why don't you just put them up online? I said, because when I give a shiur, I'm talking to the people in the shiur. That's a teaching experience. It's a one-on-one experience. It's not something that you put out there in the world. You can do that with a talk, but you can't do that with a shiur. So we're going to be starting a live daf yomi. It's going to be starting a week from this Sunday, January 12th. We hope to do it 6 days a week. And the time will be based on the participants, but the idea is that everybody will be able to, if you have the right equipment, we'll be able to see each other, and it'll be personal. If not, you have the option to be able to call in. There'll be a landline or a kosher phone that you could call in from if you want, and that'll be a wonderful thing. We will also be starting at that time a Masil Shisharim Shir. Now, the daf yomi will be open only to those of the male persuasion. I don't care how you self-identify. We're talking about actual a biological male. So only biological males are invited to the Daf Yomi, but to the Mesilas Yesharim, those of all genders and those who have difficulty self-identifying, by all means should participate. And what time this will take place will be determined on the subscribers. So if you're interested, go to RabbiOrlofsky.com/live. And that's it for this week. If you want to find out more about the show, go to RabbiOrlofsky.com. You can add comments, see my upcoming events, or contact me directly. And if you want to sponsor an episode, go to RabbiOrlofsky.com/sponsor. And that's it for this week. I'm David Orlofsky, and this is the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.
It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Knowledge and wisdom will help you grow. Lots of fun in every episode, and we don't have to rhyme. No, we don't. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show on RabbiOrlofsky.com. Torah anytime, YouTube and more. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Till next time, till we meet again. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.